Joining us now is interior designer Suzanna Lawler. Today she's sharing how travel inspires her design process and sparks creativity in every project. Welcome.
Thank you.
We're so happy to have you here, and we get to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is traveling.
Same.
Is
Love
it? Is it your hobby? And also you get to do it for work?
Yes, it's wonderful.
I'm on my third child, so have been a little, thank you, but have not been able to go anywhere like, too exciting recently, a little bit United States bound. But you just returned from an incredible trip to Ireland.
Yes, I went to Ireland for 10 days. It was wonderful. Got to take my family.
So wonderful.
It was really sweet. We're Irish heritage, so it was personal. It was special.
And we've got some images on the screen. I want to talk about them because this was a little bit of a family trip, but also
always inspiration.
Always
trip.
Looking for design ideas.
Yes, yeah. So this is a castle we stayed in. It's close to North Ireland, and we actually got to spend a night and explore all over the property.
What's it called? Do you remember?
Yes, it's called Loch Esk.
It's beautiful.
Yes, really wonderful. This image is actually in the Killarney National State Park. You could tour. There's a old historical village they've put together, so you can see the progression of what the rural life was like. Exactly that.
I love this. Look at all those beautiful mugs.
It was so eclectic, so real, and authentic, which was, I love that everything was on display.
I like that everything's a bit mismatched too.
Right, exactly. And then looking at the old cooking method and understanding how
I can't quite see how the perspective of that, but that looks like a massive fireplace.
Right, exactly. And the thatch roofs and the low-slung roof lines, it was just really textural. And getting to see the real was wonderful. Yeah.
Had you been there before?
No.
A long time ago, when I was in college, I studied abroad for a year in Paris.
Oh, wonderful.
I studied journalism and French, so I was working on my French. And I remember going to Dublin thinking, these are the most friendly, welcoming people, and I didn't want to leave. Yes.
I
just loved it.
Yes, and they're so full of life, and everything is easy. They're not in a hurry, and they all have a story to tell and music to play, and it was really special.
So what did you walk away from that trip with as a designer?
As a designer, there's something about being in a space that is so magical, and you look around and you're trying to put your finger on what is the design element that I could repeat. And the end of that is it's the people, and it's the culture, and it's the slow that comes with it mixed with intense history that everybody's very proud of. So it was really people.
So in terms of the way you like to decorate, maybe for yourself, but also for clients, do you find that you're inspired by and directed by these trips that you take?
I find that most of my clients are taking the same trips, right? So for example, I have clients that were married in Scotland, and we did an entire wing of their home based on that trip for them, that memorial moment. So it's important for me to have reference, to know exactly, the vibe that they're trying to bring into their own homes. So that's a big part of it. But also I find that I'm constantly building a mental library, right? So this is something we actually did at Lake Kiowee area. And that's all pulling from old world moments. But these clients were very fond of Italy and had spent a lot of time there. So
you did this custom circular staircase?
Absolutely, yes.
And what about this? This is a beautiful bathroom.
So this is a client that's very into fitness, health and wellness. He's a physician. And so this was pulling in a spa moment that, they love to travel the world and see spas. This is a client that traveled to Bordeaux, and they went to the 5 first growths. So all the fronts of those drawers are the fronts of crates from their trip. Yeah, so if you open the door, it's all their wine glasses. Yeah.
What's this? This is lovely.
This is from my study abroad growing up. I went to England, and the Brighton Pavilion has a similarly shaped facade in the dining room, which was highly ornate, but it always stuck in my mind. And when I got the opportunity to do a volume space that could handle it, I repeated it here.
That was a huge room.
Yes.
Very high ceilings.
Very high ceilings. Yeah.
But you sort of filled wall space with 2 huge pieces of art.
Yeah.
How do you use art in large spaces like that? I mean, do you use tapestries? Do you use and do you find things on these travels? We just actually profiled a wonderful woman. She runs Maison Dior and Baby Dior, and she's got this fabulous place outside of Paris. It's her country home.
Right.
And because some of these spaces were so tall, she had huge tapestries that covered wall space, because otherwise, I mean, I don't know how you cover so much wall space.
Well, that also helps with acoustics as well. So a lot of times,
because that's another issue that you might be dealing with.
Right, exactly. But usually, if it's a large piece, we end up commissioning. Because galleries don't usually house pieces that big. I mean, that was 28-foot ceiling. So the pieces were large.
You're just back from Ireland, but you were also in Paris recently.
Yes.
How did that trip kind of shape your design perspective?
It was really the flea market. I hadn't done the flea markets before, so we did Deco Off and we did Maison Objet, which is always inspiring. And I feel like that's almost like a reunion because so many of our design professionals are there. Yeah, but the flea markets were stunning.
How did you navigate as a first time? Were you at the Marché aux Puces?
Actually, I'm a member of Design Leadership Network. And they did a private tour.
Of the Marché?
Yes, it was unbelievable. They
pack me in your suitcase next time you go. I'll come with you.
So wonderful. Yeah.
So what were you inspired by when you were there?
How contemporary. I mean, it's vintage, but contemporary. Like they were doing contemporary long time ago. Very clean, very modern lines. Yes, right? So it was stunning.
Now, when you go to something like that, are you bringing a lot of things back?
No, not really. I have a piece of art that I stuck under my arm. I literally took it on a ski trip after that to Switzerland.
Oh, really?
And, took it all the way back home.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it's important that I see it, but getting it back, and the big issue too was everyone was asleep, the time difference. So as I was sending clients images and videos, there was such a lag time.
Okay, but you got something for yourself.
I did, actually.
Oh.
So there's a lady at that market. She's known as the Coco Chanel lady. And
That's
she
beautiful.
was a model for Coco Chanel. And she has the world's largest collection. So I got to hang out with her.
Well, you always need a trinket for yourself as a memento and as a reminder of the trip.
It was special. She was something.
How do you bring elements like tile and stone or textiles from your travels into a client's home?
Well, that part actually isn't as hard as you think. There's so many people from Italy, from Spain, from Paris, bringing beautiful tiles and things here. And I find that if you just seek it out, you can find it here, which is really wonderful because it's so hard to know how much square footage and all the things you need. And so if you partner with the people who are making the enormous effort to bring those type products to us, you can get really far with it. And they're so great about customization as well.
When you were in Spain, what was the sort of the agenda there?
So Spain was a DLN trip, a summit trip. So that was spectacular. We toured, many, many beautiful things, but the conversation that we had was quite riveting. It was a juxtaposition of how AI, modern techniques in scanning and reproducing and the Beaux-Arts, and how that is being kind of counterbalanced with a push for artisanship and craftsmanship and authenticity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the bounce between those two realities that are happening right now, a mix of conversations about the masters who are doing amazing, old school techniques, and the young apprentices that are now coming through, and keeping the old and being able to reproduce those amazing things that we figured out so long ago, but at the same time bringing in technology and the new.
Sure, and maybe even bringing things at a price point that is sort of attainable for everybody.
Yes, exactly.
How do you bring in antiques and old pieces, say, into a small space without it feeling museum-like?
I think that's about scale, and it's actually kind of in your favor because antiques were typically smaller for the most part.
Oh, interesting.
You know, chairs, where people in general were smaller, chests were smaller. Very often you can find, especially French, were very petite with their furnishings, so you can find things that fit.
Look at that sweet.
Yes.
What is going on in these photos?
So this client is actually from Norway. So that map above the fireplace is one I sourced actually off First Dibs. It's an 1800s authentic map of Norway. That piece of art you see there is the one I towed back from the Paris flea market.
You put that in a bag and
That's the
brought
one.
that on your carry-on?
I did. So this was the client trying to give a nod to her culture. And so those patterns are all Norwegian. Yeah.
Now, when you look for art in a flea market, does it matter to you whether or not it's signed?
Not unless I'm going to do the deep dive and track it all down. I am on a push right now to make art more of an investment and to partner with true, appraisal people who can help my clients spend money wisely.
Sure.
The way I see it is nobody's framing their stocks and bonds.
Right.
So why not just go ahead and buy an artist piece that you really love, that you feel confident is at least going to hold its value, if not substantially grow in value. And it changes the investment sometimes that a client's willing to make. Same thing with antiques.
Okay, so say, Suzanna, I'm not with you, I'm on a trip to Paris, I'm walking around the Marché aux Puces. What are things that somebody should be looking for at a flea market to bring back home? Say they only have a big LL Bean tote and they can fill it with a bunch of trinkets. What are things that will pack a big punch in a home that you can source at a flea market?
My favorite thing to hunt is plates, oyster plates. I feel like there are many artworks that have so much history behind them. Yes,
oh my gosh.
Exactly that. That's my personal passion. So anything that has history like that, but so much texture, so much pattern, and I can do so much with those. So that's my go-to find at a flea market, mixed with textiles, anything textiles.
Can you eat off of, like, okay, so years ago, I bought like 500 pieces or something crazy at an auction of Quimper china.
Okay.
Old French Quimper china.
Okay.
And I was so naive at the time that I thought, oh great, I can eat off of this and it can, beautifully be around the table. And then I realized you can't eat off of it, because I guess because of lead or because it was so old. It's really meant more to be decorative. So I basically, it's all in storage, and I just need to start hanging everything.
You do.
Because I guess if you can't eat off of an old plate, you can always use it as a decorative wall piece.
That's how my dining room is. It's a series of plates hung. Yeah.
All different colors and shapes and sizes.
It's a collection.
Do you think also when you're looking for pieces at a flea market, it's good to look for collections of things? Do you have collections of different items?
Yes, I think if you find maybe it's a type of a glass work that you're really into, or a particular glass artist, or anything that speaks to you. If you start pulling a collection together, it's more usable,
right?
And it's easier to get a good look with it without getting too eclectic, if you know what I mean.
We were just talking to a friend yesterday on the show. His name is Javier Burkle. He's a designer based out of Dallas.
Okay.
And one of the things he said he loves to collect are tortoise shells.
Oh, yes.
So he's always on the hunt for a tortoise shell. But he said that, you can't put them all in one room, because then people are like, oh, does he have a, like, what's going on in here? This is like the tortoise room. So they're kind of like all spread out all over his house. What is your next trip coming up that you're excited about?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, we're headed to LA, believe it or not.
I feel like the Rose Bowl there has lots of treasures.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot going on. And I feel like there's some more domestic things that I haven't fully explored, like Round Top. I haven't done a deep dive there, so that's coming up on the agenda. But we love New York. We hit New York multiple times a year.
You're right. I think it's important to remember that you don't have to go to these exotic, faraway
Right.
places to scour, to find beautiful treasures. I mean, there are so many of them that are here
Yes.
at markets and flea markets that we have. We actually just did a whole Homeworthy episode all about shopping Round Top. I have never been.
Really?
I am totally overwhelmed by it.
Really?
But I feel like if you've got a good map and a good plan, you can probably sort it out.
Right? Well, I hear it morphs. They keep bringing different things out, like different parts of the show. So I have such FOMO.
Well, you'll be there soon enough, and then
Yes.
we can't wait to hear what you find and bring back.
Absolutely.
Well, Suzanna, thank you so much for
Yeah.
talking about all of your travels and sharing inspiration about how to use antiques.
Absolutely.
This has been such a treat. Thank you.